Okay, so today we are going to do the last chapter, which is titled as vocabulary. In this chapter, we are going to look at how vocabulary or different use of vocabulary is significant stylistically. Okay, so here we would also see in the first two of the text that a departure from the standard vocabulary becomes acceptable when it comes to stylistics. Okay, so sometimes authors use or may use words that are not part of English dictionary, or that are not accepted as far as exactly correct words or vocabulary is concerned, but they coin these words as a requirement of their writing, and those can be justified stylistically. Okay, so we are not going to do this romance vocabulary related to Old English and the New English, and looking at its history of the words, but we would start with bound morphemes specifically. Okay, just hold on. Okay, so I was telling you that we are going to start from word formation 5.4, right? Nareb, I was not actually speaking for the last few minutes. I was fixing something else here on my end. I hope the voice would be clearer to you now that we have a proper session. Okay, so we would be starting with the morphemes, right? Where is 5.4? Okay, here. So as you all know, in the introductory classes of linguistics, you were told that morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning. Okay, and then there are two basic kinds of morphemes. There are many kinds of morphemes, but there are two basic kinds of morphemes. It's just a revision for you. Okay, most of you already know about the free morphemes and the bound morphemes. Free morphemes can stand alone, and the bound morphemes need to get attached to the free morphemes in order to become meaningful. Okay, for instance, excuse me. Now these are the examples. Like is one free morpheme. Likely, there are two morphemes where one is free and the other is bound. Ly is bound because it cannot exist on its own. Then likelihood, these are three morphemes where two are free and one is bound, right? And then we have unlikelihood. There are four morphemes in which, three are free and one is bound, right? So here in your book also, it's written, and I've already defined it. Free morphemes are those which can stand alone. Bound morphemes have to be added to at least one other morpheme to give meaning, okay, or to become meaningful. There are examples, more examples. Unlock, okay, where un is bound. Un cannot stand alone and lock can stand alone. Similarly, disable, dis is bound, unable is free. Renew, re is bound, new is free. So this is enclosed. N and close is free and ed is bound. N and ed are bound, and in between there is a free morpheme. You can quickly do this exercise. We can do it together also so that we can do it quickly. Okay. So here we go. Playground, 2 morphemes, both free. Quickly, 2 morphemes, 1 free, 1 bound. Bathroom, 2 morphemes, free. Eternally, 2 morphemes, 1 free, 1 bound. Generally, kindly, completely, all of these. 2 morphemes, 1 free, 1 bound. Forever, 2 morphemes, both are free. Somewhere, 2 morphemes, both are free. Okay, so we are done with this exercise, and anything is just similar. Now let's come to the passages very quickly. As in the beginning of the lecture, I told you that we are going to look for um, some newer vocabulary which might not be a part of the dictionary, but that gets justified and acceptable because of stylistics. Because the writer needed to use a word, and so he coined it. And more importantly, Nasima, please mute yourself. Okay, so we would see in these passages that some newer vocabulary has been coined, um, which is justified stylistically for another reason also, that it does not hinder your comprehension. You don't have to look into the dictionary to find out the meaning, because they make use of some of the morphemes that they combine and they coin, or they produce newer words. For instance, this text 5 is very short. Now we can do it quickly, and there is just I guess just one word that tells you that it's a newer one. Text 5. Notice was given on 18th June that the Secretary of State for the Environment had called in the planning application made by Thames Water Utilities Limited to relocate the Perry Oaks sewage sludge dewatering works to Ivor South. Okay, so here you would find this word of dewatering, D and water and ing, right? Now this word does not exist in the dictionary, but we understand it, right? Because it talks about sludge and it talks about Water Utilities Limited. So we can see that this is something that is opposite to watering. Dewatering is drying, okay? Because of our understanding of the morphemes and the words and the combination that they have. For instance, there is a word able and then there is a word unable. We know that when we want to make an antonym or opposite of able, we use the word un. Okay, similarly, D is used as an opposite. So watering is making something, to water some you water the plants. Water can be used as a verb. So the dewatering is when you dry something. Okay. Now, just quickly tell me in a line, what is happening here? There is a department, or what's happening? What are they doing? What is the notice about? Basically, it's about a notice that is given on the 18th June. Just quickly go to your chats, tell me, and then we move to the longer text. So there is just one word, and the main idea, of course, some of you are very much right. Let me add a few of your class fellows as well. So they are basically, there's a sewage system that they want to relocate because it has sludge and it needs to dewater, it needs to be dried in order to be relocated. This is what you can make out of this short notice. right? Now, what is our concern is how can we accept a word that is not part of the dictionary? Okay. Um, this becomes acceptable because if we look at it stylistically, it does not hinder our comprehension. And the author has coined a word through the combination of morphemes that tells us that, of course, watering is acceptable, right? Watering is a word also. We water the plants. So he wanted to say something that is opposite to watering, that is drying something up. So he has, coined this word of dewatering, which becomes acceptable stylistically because we understand what the writer or the one who has written the notice wants to say, right? Okay, let's come to the sixth one very, very quickly. In text 6, we are going to work with the morphemes, okay? Basically, what we are supposed to do, read the following two texts, noting any unfamiliar words. This one was unfamiliar in text 5. How are they constructed? What is their effect? How are they constructed? He has taken a word water or watering and he wanted to make the antonym of it, so he added D. This is how it is constructed. What is their effect? Stylistically it becomes uh, justified because we understand what he wants to say. Okay, so let's come to text 6 and we are going to do the same with text 6 as well. Okay, so text 6. Just hold on, okay? Just hold on for a while. Okay, let's do text 6 and let's try to find out. We are not going to work with all the morphemes, of course. All many words are do have morphemes, right? So we would not be working with the familiar kind of morphemes or words that are already acceptable in a language, in English language particularly. We would be looking at some unfamiliar words. That's the activity that we're supposed to do. Okay, so let's move to text 6 and people are still entering the class and that's little distracting. Okay, it is hard to believe that there was only one spring and one summer apiece that year, my 15th year. It is hard to believe that I so quickly squandered my youth in the sweet town playground of the sunny city, that wild monkey garden of my fourth grade youthhood. However, it was so. Dear mother, I wrote one day on her bathroom mirror with a candle silver, please forgive my absence and my decay, and overlook the freckled dignity and pockmarked integrity plaguing me this season. I used to come on even wilder sometimes and write her mad cryptic notes on the kitchen sink with charred matches. Anything for a bit. We so seldom saw each other. I even sometimes wrote her a note on paper. And then one day, having romped my soul through the spectrum of sunny colors, I dashed up to her apartment to escape the heat and found a letter from her which eternally elated my heart to the point of busture and generally endeared her to me forever. Written on the kitchen table in cake frosting was the message, my dear, mad, perverse young girl, can you take care and paint the fire escape in your leisure? All these were dotted with marmalade, and these were crossed with orange ring. Here was to sight to carry with one forever in the back of the screaming eyeballs somewhere. I howled for at least 5 minutes out of sheer madity and vowed to love her completely, leisure, as if bare-armed spring ever let up from its invitation to perpetuate the race. And as we were on the fire-escape sweep, I yelled, not giving damn for intelligibility, and decided that if ever I was to run away from home, I would take her with me. Now take a few minutes till I add more of your class fellows. What's happening here? And then we solve it for unfamiliar morphemes. So this boy believes that if for any reason he had to leave the house, he would take the mother along. Okay. Other than that, in this text, he is recalling his childhood, right? So we find words like, youthhood. Okay. Uh, some words are acceptable in English. For instance, manhood, childhood. But this youthhood, he's of the age that he isn't a child and he isn't a man yet. So the writer actually wants to tell us his accurate age, that he was between these two stages. So he was quite young. So he uses the word youthhood. Okay. And then there is a word, you know, monkey bottom, but I think this is an acceptable word. This is the name of a swing, what we call a swing for the kids. Okay. So youthhood, the writer has taken youth, and then which is acceptable, and hood, which does not exist in the combination of youth. It might exist in the combination of childhood. It might exist in the combination of the manhood. So he coins this word to give us the age of this guy. Okay. Then there is a word busture. Okay. So, and then there is a word for marity, right? Here, this is youthful, and then we are now working with all of the acceptable words with acceptable, morphemes. So we come here. Here, side of forever, back screaming eyeballs, I howled. This word, madity, sheer madity. Now, this is taken from mad, and he uses this ity to show madness. Okay. So there he coins a new word to tell about how crazy he was. That he was shouting for 5 minutes, and it was just out of madness that he was doing it. Right. This one, and then another one also. There's a word busture, right? So whatever, now there are just three unfamiliar kind of words that are coined with the help of morphemes by the writer, right? So the first one is youthhood. We understand this because we understand hood in combination of other words, and we understand this youth also. So this can be justified stylistically because he wanted to refer to a different kind of an age which wasn't a childhood and which wasn't a manhood. So he coined this word here. Okay. And then he wants to show that he was shouting and it was just being crazy at that point in time, now that he recalls it back. So that's why he uses the word merity, okay, instead of madness. And then there is a word busture. Instead of using bursting, So that also we get to understand through the context here. Okay. So meaning to say is that it does not hinder or hamper our comprehension, and we understand these words without any difficulty, right? um, Now why he has used this word? Just to be innovative, just to make use of or experiment with newer words which no one has used before. Okay, this is how you can this can be justified stylistically. Okay, so morphemes and a combination of morphemes can with the help of these morphemes and a combination of morphemes, writers and authors and speakers can come up with newer words which are not or which cannot be called as errors as far as their stylistic standing is concerned. Okay, so that is really up to the style of the writer or the author to come up with newer words or introduce newer vocabulary. Okay, introducing the newer vocabulary here does not make these words a part of the dictionary anyway. But what it does for us is it gives us fresher words and newer words to read, and it's interesting to make out the meaning because of the presence of or a combination of morphemes here. Okay, so now let's go to we are not doing this romance vocabulary, I've already told you, because we need an etymological dictionary for it, and oftentimes we cannot differentiate which word is coming from which language, whether it's from old English or the newer English. If you want to do it for for your own interests, I mean, if you're interested in this, you can read this, but I'm not doing this romance vocabulary right now. And we are moving to semantic field. Now, what is a semantic field? Semantic field, if you have done semantics previously in any of the semesters or a part of pragmatics or introductory classes of pragmatics, you're taught semantics as well. Anyway, now semantic field consists of vocabulary words which belong to a similar domain or a similar field, or a similar, idea. For instance, if you are making a semantic field of the hospital, then you have patients, doctors, nurses, operation theater, the instruments, medicines, diseases, all of these. So all of this lies in one semantic field, and you need to, differentiate between synonyms and semantic field. In semantic field, it is not necessary that, all you will find only the synonyms. Okay. Basically, semantic field has words which has similarity in the sense of their domain. Okay. Jargons are actually specialized words. Okay, those are professional words. Jargons are professional words, right? But semantic field is a little different. Okay, so the session is going to expire, and I think we should begin this new topic um, with a newer session. Okay, so I'm just ending the meeting, and then I'm meeting you again.